everyone. Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm excited because today we're talking about my favorite time of the meal. Sweets, ice cream, cake, pie. The article is the Surprising Sahara Desert. I didn't know they had desserts in the Sahara, but sure, why not? It's hot. Ice cream would be great.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that doesn't say dessert. That says desert.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, like sand and stuff.
No rain.
Yeah.
It's not ice cream and cake and pie. Oh, because
No,
I was
kind of the
surprised.
opposite.
I thought, I was surprised. I thought a big sandy, hot part of North Africa. What kind of desserts do they have? They must be good.
No, unfortunately, it's just desert.
Wow, that's confusing because they do look very similar.
Yeah, they're these two words are super similar. The difference is one S.
One S in the middle. I notice it now. Right, okay.
Yeah, a good thing to kind of remember to keep these two a little bit more clear is that for dessert, you want to have lots of sugar. So you want sugar. So there's two S's.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's DESS. ERT, the SS is for sugar.
Yeah, but in the desert, there's just sand. So just one S, just sand.
Just sand. Not sand.
No.
Just sand.
Just
so
sand.
Sugar for your dessert and sand for the desert. Sounds good. So let's visit the desert. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sandy. And there won't be any pie.
But there might be something surprising.
Yeah, but no pie.
No,
Let's
sorry.
check it out.
What is the largest hot desert on Earth? If your answer is the Sahara, you're correct. The Sahara covers over 9 million square kilometers. That makes it as big as China or the US.
Okay, so yes, the title of our article is, I'm sorry to say, The Surprising Sahara Desert. Not a dessert, a desert. So I think most of you have probably heard of the Sahara Desert. If you look at a map of Africa, you'll see it. It kind of sticks out. So here's a good question to get us onto the topic. The question is, what is the largest hot desert on Earth? That's really interesting because when I think of a desert, I think of a big, dry, hot place with lots of sand and camels and not a lot of water. But there they said a hot desert. Is there a cold desert?
Yeah, so there actually are two gigantic cold deserts that are on the different poles. So you got the Antarctica is the largest desert, and it is totally cold. It's a a tundra desert, that kind of thing, because there's no rain. And that is our first word, which is desert. So a desert, actually, the definition is just a place that has very low rainfall, and it's a very dry area. And in most cases, we think of them being hot because most of them are hot with sand, but they don't have to be. They can also just be an area that's pretty dry, arid, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so it really doesn't rain much in the Sahara Desert, but it rains or snows even less in the South Pole. But as you said, usually we think of a hot, sandy place like the Sahara, the Gobi Desert in northern China, the Atacama Desert in Chile. I always like to say that. Atacama. It just sounds cool. So we're generally thinking of a hot, sandy place, but really a desert is a place with very, very little rain, like almost no rain at all.
Yes, and so if we continue on with our reading to answer that question, the next part goes, if your answer is the Sahara, you're correct. The Sahara covers over 9 million square kilometers.
Wow, so it is the largest hot desert. But I guess, if we said what is the largest desert, not hot, just desert, and you said the South Pole or Antarctica, you would also be correct. Now, if you're correct, this adjective basically means you're right. You got the right answer. The information that you said it all matches up, it's all right, it's all correct. You didn't make a mistake, you are not wrong. If you're wrong, that would be the opposite of being correct. Or we could also just say incorrect, IN correct, which also means wrong.
Yes, very good. And so also we had this word cover, and this cover in this sentence is used as a verb. I know a lot of people might think of cover as like a noun, and you say, oh, I need to pull up my covers when I'm sleeping, this kind of
cover your face
or cover
when you're
your
shy
face, this
or something.
kind.
Okay.
Yes, but used here, it says the Sahara covers over 9 million square kilometers. So this type of cover means to extend over an area, to kind of cover that whole area.
I see. Stretch from one side to another, and probably quite a large area.
Yeah, we generally use this to say that you've covered a great distance. So it could be also in like maybe your car. If you drove like maybe 3 hours, you've covered a lot of distance. You've gone from one place to another and covered a good amount of distance.
Okay, another fact that we often hear about the Earth from scientists is that water covers about 75% of the Earth. So if you look at the Earth, water stretches and is on a big part of it. It covers a big part of the Earth. And of course, the rest of the Earth is covered by the dry land that we live on, and dry land like the Sahara Desert. So back to the Sahara Desert. It's big. It covers a very large area of North Africa. How big is it? Well, here's something to kind of put a picture in your mind. The fact that it covers this area, that makes it as big as China or the U.S. Now, China and the U.S. are the third and fourth biggest countries in the whole world, so you could fit China or the U.S. into this one desert.
That would be a very, very big desert.
It would be really big. And there'd be very few Disneylands or Great Walls or no shopping in there, just sand and camels and more sand.
I wonder how long it would take to cover that whole, to go from one end to the other. Because I've driven part of the U.S., gone from like the West Coast to about the Midwest.
Right.
And that took about 2 weeks, going at a reasonable pace.
I think you could, if you drove fast, you could cross the U.S. in about 4 days. But you're on a highway, remember? Of course, they don't have highways in the Sahara Desert. And if you cross the U.S. on a camel, more than 4 days.
Definitely more than 4 days.
It's big. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll be back to talk about more about the Sahara Desert.
Now, you probably think that it's all sand and very flat. However, that's wrong. The Sahara is mostly rock, and it has mountains, valleys, and plateaus, besides sand seas and dunes. Speaking of sand dunes, the Sahara is famous for them. They can be over 180 meters high, and they appear in many movies.
All right, the Sahara Desert. It's hot, it's big, it's covered in sand, and it's in North Africa. So far we know that much. Let's find out more. As we get back to the article, it says, now, you probably think that it's all sand and very flat. Well, yeah, because it's mostly sand and it's mostly flat, right?
I would think so.
I don't know. I've only seen it in movies and on TV. I've never actually been there. And it turns out that I'm not correct. It says, however, that's wrong. So there you go. I am not correct. I am incorrect or wrong to just think that all of the Sahara is flat, covered in sand, and, you know, that's about it. There are parts of it, though, I would bet, that are definitely flat, all right? So when we talk about flat, it has no bumps. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down, it's one level. If you live in a house and a crazy person didn't build your house, the floors will be flat. We like to have flat floors because otherwise you'd be falling over as you walk across your kitchen or something like that. But if there's an earthquake in your neighborhood, maybe the floors won't be flat. Or if you go outside and you're driving on the roads, usually roads are pretty flat. But if you're in an area of the country or even the city where there are hills or mountains, the roads will go up, they'll go down, things like that. But think of the top of a table or a basketball court or something like that. It's flat. It's all on one level. It doesn't go up or down.
Yes, and so I also would have thought that the desert was flat and sandy. But again, since that's wrong, let's figure out what actually is the Sahara like.
Okay.
So if we continue with our reading, we have the Sahara is mostly rock.
Oh, that wouldn't be flat. You'd
No,
have
yeah.
bumps of the rocks.
And it has mountains.
That's not flat.
Valleys.
Nope.
And plateaus.
That's flat on top.
Besides sand seas and dunes.
Seas aren't flat. They go up and down and up and down and up and down. So there you go. Very little, apparently, of the Sahara Desert is actually flat. It has all these different things that we find out in nature and geography. Things like valleys and mountains. Well, you know what a mountain is, right? It's where the land goes up really, really quickly, quite high, and then comes back down. It might be a hill, it might be taller, it might be a mountain. If you have the opposite of that, where the land goes down and then comes back up, that, my friends, is a valley. Valleys are created over time by often water. A river will cut away at the rock, and eventually, after millions of years, the river will be down at the bottom of the valley, and you'll have higher points of land on either side. We find valleys in areas between mountains. I guess you could call Taroko a valley, but it's more of a gorge, which is similar. It's like a valley, but drops really, really quickly. Whereas valleys are usually a little bit gentler, but the land will be higher on the sides, lower in the middle, and often a river at the bottom of a valley. Let's move on to plateau, which is another thing we find out there in the world in geography.
Yeah, so there's some really good words in this little bit of reading that can kind of give you a good idea of geography and how different land forms. And so we have this word plateau, and it might look a little bit funny compared to how it's said, plateau, but this is a word that means basically when the ground comes up and then it's flat on top. And so it's usually kind of, it's almost like if you think of a mountain, but it got chopped off. And then it's just flat on top.
Exactly. I think they're also sometimes called table mountains.
Yeah, tabletop, something like that, that kind of thing. And we've got these plateaus in the desert. So it's not just all sand, because you can't really make a plateau with sand. It's got to be some kind of rock and a little bit harder, and you can kind of go up and down and walk across these as well. So there's a lot of interesting, stuff going on in the desert, surprising things.
That's right. Plateaus are often formed where there's an earthquake maybe, and part of the land just drops down very quickly, and then you have this other different, harder rock that sticks up, and there you have your plateau. And then we also have this word dune. Now, you will find dunes, sand dunes, in the desert. You might also find them down by your local beach, because a sand dune or a dune is really just a big pile of sand that's probably been pushed and moved and created by the wind. The wind will move these dunes around. If you picture the Sahara Desert like you might see it in a movie or a cartoon, it's just sort of these little hills of sand that just go off until you can't see them anymore. Those would be dunes or sand dunes. You can actually ski on sand dunes too, can't you? You see people driving their motorcycles up them, and exciting stuff like that.
That's something I've always wanted to do. I have one of my friends, actually, she went snowboarding down a sand dune, and I thought that was a really cool thing.
I think people have done, a friend of mine did that, I think, in Oregon. The U.S. state of Oregon. They have sand dunes there that you can actually ski down. And I'm sure you could do it in the Sahara Desert, but
that would not be fun to fall down. You'd have a whole face full of sand.
Ugh, that's true. I don't want a mouthful of sand. All right, well, let's get back to the sand.
Yes, back to our reading. We have, speaking of sand dunes, the Sahara is famous for them. They can be over 180 meters high, and they appear in many movies. So we have this word appear, means to show up, or to be, in this case, in the movies. They appear in the movies, so they are in the movies. And I think this is very classic when you think of like any kind of desert movie or something like that. You're going to have that picture of those dunes, those sand dunes. So they appear in a lot of things like movies or in books or in pictures of the Sahara Desert.
Definitely.
Yes, and so let's kind of call it good for today. And
that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm a little thirsty. Gotten a bit of sand in my throat. It's been quite hot today in the Sahara Desert. I'm sure you guys could take a break. Maybe we'll go look for a friendly camel who can take us on a bit of a journey, because we're not done. We're still going to be in the desert tomorrow. So please come on back for that. Bring some water, maybe some an umbrella or some sunblock.
Sunblock, please.
Protect your skin, yeah. And we'll see you back in the Sahara Desert tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
What is the largest hot desert on Earth? If your answer is the Sahara, you're correct. The Sahara covers over 9 million square kilometers. That makes it as big as China or the US. Now, you probably think that it's all sand and very flat. However, that's wrong. The Sahara is mostly rock, and it has mountains, valleys, and plateaus, besides sand seas and dunes. Speaking of sand dunes, the Sahara is famous for them. They can be over 180 meters high, and they appear in many movies.
Hi， 大家好，我是 Stephanie。那我们今天从单字一起来看。第一个单字呢是名词 desert 沙漠 ，Camels live in the desert， 骆驼生活在沙漠中。第二个单字呢是动词 cover 覆盖、涵盖。Oceans cover about 71% of the Earth's surface. 海洋大约覆盖地球表面的71%。第三个单字呢是形容词 flat 平坦的。The ice on the river is flat enough to skate on. 河上的冰层很平坦，可以在上面滑冰。第四个单字呢是 valley 名词山谷。People have lived in this valley for a long time. 人们住在这个山谷很长一段时间。那我们今天的第一件事呢，是要一起来整理 besides 的用法。Besides 可以当副词，是除此之外的意思。我们先看第一个例子 ：Hiking is fun. Besides, you can get fit doing it. 健行很有趣，此外你会变得更健康。Besides 的另一个意思呢，是除了点点点之外。作为这个意思的时候，词性就会变成介系词，就像课文里面的用法。Besides 的两个意思乍听之下有点相近，所以我们一起再看一个例句，让同学更了解其中的差别。Besides a cat, Joy owns a pet turtle. 除了一只猫之外 ，Joy 还养了一只宠物乌龟。那第二个重点呢是 speaking of 加名词，说到、提及点点点，用来带出与前文相关的话题。Speaking of drinks, which do you like the most?说到饮料，你最喜欢喝什么？第三个重点呢是 A is famous for B。A 以 B 而闻名 ，famous 表示知名的、有名的。This cafe is famous for its apple pancakes。这家咖啡馆因为苹果松饼而闻名。这个用法呢，要注意的是介系词是 for。好，那今天的讲解就到这里 ，See you。
Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Jamie.
Today we're going to play Word Drop. We each have 3 cards with words on them that we have not seen yet, and we're going to try and fit these words into a conversation as smoothly as we can. Okay, do you want to start the conversation?
I suppose I will. All right, here we go. Okay, so usually most of us eat pretty normal food, like a pretty basic, cheap, easy food on a daily basis, right? Or at least I think a lot of people do. However, once in a while you might want to treat yourself to something nice. You might want to go to perhaps a steakhouse, which is more expensive, but usually the food is nicer. And I think one nice thing about steakhouses is that when you get your steak or whatever dish you get, oftentimes they cover it with a lid before giving it to you.
Oh, yeah, that is nice. I like steakhouses too. A while ago, I was super hungry and we wanted to find a steakhouse actually, but we got a bit lost and we ended up getting lost driving through the desert.
Through the desert, wow, I hope you had enough water with you. But yeah, I think that the desert, I haven't really been to a desert before, I don't think, but I would like to see it because yes, it's mostly sand, but I would just kind of want to see just a really wide area of flat sand.
Oh yes. So that's certain deserts are very flat and can be scenic. But I prefer a different kind of scenery usually. So I prefer greenery and forests and everything, and it's really beautiful when you see a nice lush green valley.
Oh, I think that's beautiful too, actually. And also mountains are beautiful. Actually, I think that I would say that many places have great mountains, and Taiwan is famous for having wonderful mountains.
Oh yes, they do have beautiful mountains, and it's a lot of activities and things you can do in the mountains. So yeah, sometimes I know some friends like to go out to the mountains, and speaking of mountains, I saw a new documentary about Mount Everest.
Oh. Was it good?
Yes,
Okay,
it was
good.
very good.
See you next time!